On the uplift. Right here on the uplift.
Hello and welcome to At the Funeral Home Business, sponsored by Golden Gate Funeral Home. Golden Gate Funeral Home is owned and operated by John Beckwith Jr. Call in right now and ask the Undertaker any questions you'd like. Ladies and gentlemen, Golden Gate Funeral Home.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Undertaker. It's an open, honest look into funeral service. Brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral Home and Crematory. With facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Tallulah, Louisiana. Can y'all believe that we got 3 locations? Yes. I am John Beckwith Jr., the owner and your host. And I am with the Dr. Ambrose Wiley. How you doing today, my brother? All right. And we have this guy. What's the name of that church in Fort Worth you go to?
The chosen vessel.
The chosen vessel. Y'all, his pastor is probably one of the most popular pastors in the entire nation. Pastor Sapp, is that correct?
It's Marvin L. Sapp.
Yes, is your pastor.
It's my pastor.
Isn't that something? Tell him who you are.
I am Minister Matthew Ransom, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just excited to be here.
Why are you in Dallas, Minister Matthew Ransom?
Well, it was nothing but the Lord that brought me here. Coming from where I'm coming from, I was in the hospitality industry.
Okay.
And so it brought me here. Worked for the Omni Hotel for quite a few years. And due to pandemic, changes happened. But it's like I've been taught by my pastor, it's okay to pivot.
So you're no longer with the Omni?
No longer with the Omni.
And get a discount on the room. Come on, my brother.
I still got faith.
Come on, man. We need a hookup. We need a hookup. Ambrose, Wiley, what brings you to Dallas, Texas?
I come back to my family, Mr. Beckwith.
Okay.
I was led in by founder,
okay.
of Golden Gate, Dr. John Beckwith Sr.
Now, where are you from?
Alexandria, Louisiana.
Alexandria, Louisiana. Were you born in Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
Atlanta, Georgia, Alexandria, Louisiana. They're both men of God. They're both spiritual men. They both preach the word of God. Each one of you. Were you called by God?
Yes, sir.
Nobody else called you, right? You didn't like a phone call. No. I said, hey, you're going to be a preacher, right?
No.
What about you? How's you?
Isn't called truly by
God? Okay, y'all listen. One of the number one questions that's asked to all ministers around the world is, how do you know you were actually called? And can you explain a calling to someone that is not a preacher? Now, y'all think that's a good question? Is that a fair question? What do y'all think? Is that a fair question? Preachers always say they were called. And it's interesting because, you know, as a lay person that's outside looking in, I've been that for many years, since 2011, I became a minister, is that I didn't always understand when they kept saying they got called. Like, did God pick up the phone? Did it, you know, when you say I got called, I start with you, Minister Ransom. What do you mean by called?
So when we think about called, we think about chosen. When you think about being chosen, you think about being selected. And when you think about those moments, anytime you're selected, it all makes sense.
Okay.
And when I was called at the age of 15, it all made sense. I was in my mother's living room by myself. And the Lord really dealt with me for 7 days, And once I accepted what he had shared with me in a dream, actually, in a vision, and that's when I knew. And once I accepted what he has given me, the responsibility, I understood then that it all makes sense. My life after that started to make sense. Every trial, every tribulation, every fight, every battle, it all makes sense.
15 years old. Freshman in high school, maybe?
Freshman in high school.
Come on, man. Puberty. Y'all sure he just wasn't hallucinating? He might have been on some acid or take a mushroom or something. Talk about for a week, something spiritually was happening to him. Y'all just speaking from outside here. I'm a 15-year-old dreaming. That's normal. Okay. He said being called is also being chosen. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you felt like God chose you that day. You guys quite often will watch superhero movies. We'll see where Spider-Man got bit by a spider. Changed his life.
Yes.
The spider bite put a calling on his life. Once he got bit by the spider, he then had a responsibility.
That's good.
So with these superpowers came responsibility. Most superheroes will tell you they didn't want what God had gave them.
Come on.
Superman's parents had to die.
Yes, sir.
He was from a different planet.
Yes, sir.
He crashed on Earth, and because his superpowers that he was given, there came responsibility.
Yes, sir.
You now check this out, Spider-Man. Check this out, Superman. You now have to save other people.
That's good.
Did you hear me?
That's good.
When people say, what is a calling? This is what I tell them. I got bit by a spider. I didn't want to get bit by a spider. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The spider bit me and gave me these superpowers. And now I am responsible
Yes, sir.
for saving people.
Yes,
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with the crash. I don't know what planet Kryptonite was. Only thing I can tell you, I now have these superpowers. And now I'm obligated to save people that don't even know they want to be saved. I hear them cry. God gave me a different kind of ear. And I didn't always have that ear. God gave me some spider senses. I didn't always have it. Now, that's when I say I've been called. That's what happened.
Yes, sir.
His spider bite was 15 years old.
Yes.
In a house in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
And y'all saw when Spider-Man got bit, how his body changed.
His body changed.
And the inside changed.
Right.
And he started feeling different. He got senses he didn't have before.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, that's a calling. When we say calling, that's all it is. Most superheroes came from something they didn't ask for.
Yes, sir.
I don't know too many ministers asked them. They just got bit. Come on, tell me yours. I'm just going down the line. What calling me? You told me yours. I told you mine. What happened?
Yes, sir. I was in Alexander,
Okay.
and it was a hard, heavy this that came over me.
Okay.
God opened my eyes.
You were hit.
Yep.
You got hit by something.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about superpowers.
And the superpowers that he gave me was that of discernment.
You can have discern stuff.
I heard
Really? Okay.
see things that are not clearly right there by the naked eye.
God gave you that superpower.
Yes, sir.
What?
I mean, an alert of warning that you feel a spirit of this person or them moving.
And
before
y'all understand,
you know
God
it,
don't give it to everybody. He gave it to you. He gave that to you.
Yes, sir.
All of a sudden, how old were you? How old were you?
47.
So
Yes.
for 47 years, you didn't feel that. For 47 years, you had not that superpower. For 47 years, you couldn't see what God has now opened your eyes to see. You couldn't hear what God has now opened your ears. After 40, you were old, got called.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes,
ain't that something? Me too. I was old when I got called. I was old. You were 15. You got called early. And you know what's nice, y'all? I was watching a movie with Will Smith. I don't know if y'all still Will Smith fans since the slap, but I'm still a Will Smith fan. And he played as a superhero one time. But he played as a superhero that was an alcoholic. Did anybody see that? And he was on the side of the road and he was homeless. And Hank, what you know about Hancock? You don't know nothing about Hancock. Hancock was the ultimate calling for preachers. See, Hancock didn't want that power.
No.
Hancock was given that power. But see, what people think is because you were given that power, because you was called to preach, that you all of a sudden no longer a sinner. That you're no longer who you are before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch. Hancock is the ultimate preacher.
But you know what I did notice about that movie?
Okay.
That when Hancock had the power,
Right.
but he didn't always want to have the responsibility.
No, that's for a fact, preacher.
He didn't always want the
You
responsibility.
know how often I've heard preachers say this? I've been running. You say he's been running. Yeah. In other words, God gave him the superpower, but he didn't use it. And God just kept having things kept happening to you. So eventually you had to use it.
Eventually you had to
Hancock ended up in jail.
Mhm.
Hancock ended up wrecking people's cars and people throwing bottles at him and children hating him before he finally started using the power that God had given him.
And you know, another thing that about that movie that stood out, he didn't use his power or he didn't accept the responsibility until they made a deal. And one thing about it, where we have to be careful as men and women of God, you have to be careful that you don't want to get to a place where God have to make a deal for you to accept what he has given you.
Most people do. Most people got to go to prison first. Most people got to lose a loved one first. Most people, you're right. A deal has to be made before you finally accept the call. And this is what I liked about Hancock, you guys, is that he found out there was somebody else just like him.
So did
all that time, Hancock thought he was the only one. And he thought what God gave him was a curse, not a blessing.
Yes, sir.
Until he found someone else that had the same power that he had. Check this out. The person he found never would accept her call.
My God.
She lived like she didn't have the call. Now, how many preachers out there is guilty right now living with the calling, but hiding the calling? Just want to fit in with everybody else, even though God has set you apart.
Being ashamed.
Come on, preach.
What God has called you to do. And what God has called you to be.
What does that have to do with the Undertaker show? Well, I'm glad you asked. And to the young men I have next to me that wear Golden Gate ties, God has called them into a calling. They have accepted their calling. They have found what we call mentors in the ministry. You brag about have an opportunity to work under the great Pastor Bishop Marvin Sapp. You brag about being able to come to Dallas and work under the great John Beckwith Jr. There's so many other people that can speak into your life to make you a better person. You have to have a mentor, even as ministers, even as pastors. Each pastor need a pastor. Each person who covers people need to be covered if we learn nothing else. Now that God has given you these superpowers, now that God has blessed you and you have accepted the calling, you're now doing what God has called you to do, which is save lives, right? That's what God called you to do. One of the most difficult things that lay people deal with, ministers deal with, pastors deal with, bishops deal with, is death. Death is a very strong enemy.
Yes, sir.
Don't get it twisted. Death is not your friend. Death is an enemy. People say that I'm okay with dying. I'm not saying I'm not okay with dying. That's not what I'm saying. But the Bible speaks of death will be the last thing that's cast into the lake of fire. Death is our enemy. Why do you say that, preacher? Because we were never designed to die. I just want to let you know, we were not made to die. People say now, a person that's born of a woman has but a few days and full of trouble, and we're going to die. Now, that is a curse that was brought on to us by Adam sin. Not Eve sin, by Adam's sin.
Absolutely.
Death is our enemy. That's why it hurts so much. I know that. I know that. I see that. I feel that. I've had death in my family. I deal with families every day that has death in their family. I know death hurts, and I know death is an enemy. Help me. I'll start with you, Minister Ransom. But how do I deal with that enemy of death?
I believe how you deal with the enemy of death first is through prayer.
Okay.
First, through prayer, you have to find understanding, getting into the word of God, understanding what death is, asking God to give you clarity on what death is. And death, we understand, is the great equalizer.
Okay.
It doesn't matter your nationality. It doesn't matter your belief. It doesn't matter your political party, but death is the great equalizer. And I really feel that your responsibility is to ask God for understanding, because the Bible tells us that if we want wisdom and understanding, we must first ask of the Father to empower us with that. And so that's what I believe, Doctor.
We say first step in dealing with death is go talk to God about it.
Correct.
Talk to God about it. Say, God, listen, I'm dealing with something that I can't handle, that I don't always understand. So you're saying talk to God about it. What step would you give to a person? How do I deal with that enemy of death?
As dealing with the part of death is
Dying.
they are not alone.
Okay.
As undertakers, as preachers,
You're not by yourself.
that family is not by themselves. We are part of the same family. And
Other men have passed this way.
Others.
Other folks have dealt with death other than you.
Yes.
Okay. See it
And
through.
how
Okay.
do we come to the conclusion of where we're not comfortable or complacent?
Now
Is
with
that
that,
through prayer? Prayer is where the action is. God will say clearly, I am with you always.
okay.
Even until the end, he ensures us. He comforts us.
Even in death,
Even in death.
been attacked by the enemy, the
Being
ultimate
attacked.
enemy, death, has invaded my ranks.
Yes, sir.
Came into my family, took my mama, took my
Yes,
daddy,
sir.
took my brother.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, come on now.
Yes,
Here
sir.
comes death. Number one enemy, and you saying the way to deal with him is
Through prayer.
prayer. Okay, all right, let's talk about it. They're gonna take prayer, so I can't take it. I'm gonna say number two is understand. Once you understand your enemy, and I've read many things about Art of War and so many other books of dealing with the enemy. You have to understand your enemy.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If you don't understand your enemy, you can't
Can't
fight
fight.
your enemy.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
When you don't know what their superpowers are, you don't know how to counteract what they're doing to you.
Absolutely.
Understand, you have to study your enemy.
Yes, sir.
Thantology is the study of death. Why is it important to study death? Because death is my enemy,
Yes.
and I need to know everything I can
Absolutely.
about you,
Yes.
because I know you're coming.
Absolutely.
You came after my mama, you came after my daddy, you came after my brother, and I know you're coming after me.
Yes. Yes.
Watch out. Here he comes. Ready or not, here he comes. So I need to get ready. And I'll say the second thing you need to do is to understand death. So today we only have so many minutes, y'all. We come back on here every Saturday morning. We can finish this conversation. Let's get to understand this enemy called death. What's death's role? What is death's role in our life? First understanding of death is a curse. Death is a curse. Death is a punishment. Death is a punishment. The power of sin is the law. Anybody ever heard that?
Yes, sir.
And the reason why you die is because you sin. Understand that death is the enemy. And I understand why you exist. You exist because I sinned. You exist because Adam sinned. That's why you're here.
Yes,
You're
sir.
here for punishment purposes. No other reason. Death don't come. I'm going to throw somebody off to bring families together. I heard preachers say it all the time at a funeral. Oh, death has came and it brought us all together. No, death don't come to bring nobody together. Death is here for punishment because you sin. That's the only reason death is here.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by the baby? A baby didn't sin. He died. Four parents sinned. Adam is the foreparent to that baby.
Absolutely.
That's why that baby had to die.
Had to die.
Understand, death ain't nobody's friend. Y'all, death don't happen to be something else be replaced. Oh, death came and God gonna give you a better and a bigger one. No, death came because we sinned. Adam sinned. Death, you're an enemy. You're not a friend. Death don't bring us together. Death, we mourn because of you.
Absolutely.
Death, we dislike you. We hate you, death. And you gonna get yours. I heard Bishop Thomas say that at my brother's funeral. Death, you gonna get. He said, no. That's what he said. He said, shake your finger at him, family. Because death, you gonna get yours.
Yes.
Death is never our friend. I hear people say all the time, oh man, death came and we're the better because of it. Death came and no. Understand who death is.
Yes, sir.
And his purpose. Now, what do you understand about death?
What I understand about death has the ability to cause us to think.
Okay.
It causes us to go back in our minds and our thinking and see, okay, where can I change? Have you ever been in a situation where you've seen death get so close to home, and it causes you to think about your own life? It causes you to think about where you are in your own spiritual journey. It causes you to think about where you are with your loved ones. It causes you to think about, okay, do I have time to do this? Because death hits sometimes in strange times and strange places. And so you have to learn how to maneuver with death in regards to that.
So you use death as a teaching tool.
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you want to say to a person that's dealing with death? What advice would you give them on how to deal with death? You say use it as a learning tool. What do you think?
Piggyback to that. Yes, it is for us to learn.
Okay.
It is for us to understand. Okay. Foremost, we are in this all together, sick to die, born to die. We're not born to stay here forever. Our love to God, even God knows that death shall come upon us. His son Jesus died on the cross.
Because he was 100% human.
100% died. And humans do die.
And let's talk a little bit about this. Y'all ready? Death is our enemy. We agree with that, right?
Yes.
We don't like death. We ain't gonna never like you. Death, you have no good place in my life. Check this out. All things work together for the good for those who love the Lord. I'll end it right here, you guys. Even death can work together for our good. Isn't that something? How God can take something as evil as death. How God can take something that hurts as much as death and work it to our good. How does that work? Preacher, explain that. I wasn't grown until my parents died. I didn't realize what being a man was until the man died. I didn't realize I had to grow up until somebody died. I didn't know we were supposed to come together until somebody died. That they work together. How you take something that painful, how you take something that difficult, and now it work together for my good, because that's what the word of God says. Death can work together for your good. So is there a reason to be depressed? No, that means that we're going through a phase. It is a stage. And y'all understand all stages need a curve call. Let me say that one more time. There comes a time where the curtain must close on the stage. Stage of deniability. Curtain needs to close. Now it's time to move on. Stage of anger needs to close. Now it's time to move on. Stage of bargaining needs to close. Time to move on. Stage of depression needs to, and it's time to move on. Yes. It needs to just be a stage, not where I live, not where I'm gonna stay. It's just a stage, and there needs to be a curtain call on that stage. Easily said and done. But let's understand this enemy. Let's talk about this enemy. What happens when death grabs you? Death is gonna grab you. Death is gonna grab me. It's gonna grab you. Yes, sir. Unless Jesus come back first. Yes. Yes. What happens when death grabs you as a Christian? What do you believe is gonna happen?
I honestly believe that when death grabs me as a believer, I then shift to this place called Abraham's bosom. It's a resting place for those that have died and they're waiting on judgment to come. That's what I truly believe that happens once you pass away.
Once you pass away, once Matthew Ransom passed away, there's going to be a transition. He's going to end up in Abraham's bosom. That's what he believed. Sir. What happens when death grab you? What's going to happen, Reverend? Just you, man. What you believe? Death. What's going to happen when death grab you?
I believe, as Paul clearly said, that as to be absent from this body,
okay,
I will be then present with the Lord.
Okay, that's what you believe. As soon as death grab you,
as
soon as death grab you,
as the Spirit of God leads,
you
when
gonna be
Jesus gave up the ghost, he was then with this on.
And that's where you go.
And that's where.
All right, come on, producer, what we got?
Albert said the Bible did not say all things are good because death is not good, but God in his insuperable sovereignty make all things work for our
work
good.
together for our good. Doesn't make it good,
Even
but it
Works.
works together. Thank you, Pastor Ivory, for that. I think everybody on this panel would agree. Which what happens when death grabs me? You know what happens when death grabs me? He gonna split. He gonna split me in half. You know that? That's just say what I believe. I say what I believe. You know, split me in half. Death gonna do me like this. Oh, I'm gonna say, ooh, I'm gone. Dichotomy. This is what I believe, that I am made up of two things. I have a spiritual side of John Beckwith.
Yeah.
Then there's the human or the body flesh of John Beckwith. Yeah. And death will divide me like this. Because death has no power over my spirit.
Yeah.
We were not designed to die. So when God breathed in his breath of life, that can't die. It will be forever just like him.
Yes.
That death does not have no power over my spirit.
Yes.
It ain't come from you. The curse wasn't on my spirit. The curse is on my body. This body will go back. Earth, earth, ashes, ashes, and dust to dust. It's going back. It will decompose. Yes, yes. You can put me in the best cash. You can put me in the best vault. You can put me in my office. You can put me underground. You can cremate me. It don't matter. Earth, earth, ash, ash, dust to dust. That's what I believe what happens to the death grab. It does something with my body, but it can't have my soul.
Absolutely.
I decide where my soul goes. God gave me a thing called free will.
Yeah.
He says, Mr. Beckwith, John Beckwith Jr., I know you. Call me by my name.
Yeah.
And then he says, you decide what you're going to do or what's going to live forever. He can live in hell with the devil because that's your master. Or you can come live with me because I'm your master, but choose this day. Which one of us you going to go with now? You can't play back and forth now. We call that a spy. You running up to heaven and then spying for the devil. You running in the church, but you're really spying for the devil. You running up to talk about you're a preacher, but you really a spy for the devil. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Choose this day. Ooh, yeah, you can't be double-minded now. If you over there, stay over there. And when you die, you're gonna go one of those two places. Everybody don't go to heaven. Everybody don't. Y'all listen, everybody can't go because they didn't choose to. You didn't choose to go there. You made your choice.
Because you know the scripture tells us that life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Okay.
And it said, they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes to you all, what fruit are you eating?
Right.
What fruit are you eating?
Because some taste different.
Some taste different.
Some taste different, man. I like the taste of plums, but I hate a tomato. I'm just telling you, man. So if you offer me a tomato, I'll be like, no, pass on that, cat. Come on. Get plum. I'll take that plum. See, the devil knows I like plums.
Yes, sir.
Now, you understand if Adam didn't like the apple, he wouldn't have been there. I don't know what the apple is. I thought he said the fruit. I just said if it was a fruit he didn't like, he wouldn't have been there. I just tell him if it was green beans, I wouldn't have been there. So the devil don't offer me green beans. I'm just telling you, he offered me banana pudding. He know what I like to taste. I'm just trying to help somebody with this thing called death.
Yes, sir.
All of us agree that our spirit goes back, right?
Yes, sir.
And we choose where that spirit lives forever.
Yes.
And then our body goes back, earth, ash, dust. So the question is this: how are you going to recognize me when we all get to heaven? And I'm going to take a question. I'm throw that out there, and I'm going to take a question.
Some questions. Yasmin said, how do you know what a call is? What does it feel like, or what do you see?
Okay, let's answer that first. And yes, I'm going to take you back to the very beginning of the show. I related to Spider-Man getting bit by the spider. And I know you've seen Spider-Man, yes. I know you know the story, how he got bit by the spider and how it went through his body and it gave him spider feelings. And he called it a tingling. That's kind of what you feel. All of us feel something different because we all was bit by something different. Spider-Man was bit by a spider. He was given spider senses. Many different superheroes that are called many different ways, but we all received some type of power that made us responsible for saving people. That's how I feel. He talked about a dream for over 1 week. He talked about a heavy thing, eyes being open. Each one of us received something. And when we received it, it feels different. But check this out, Jasmine. It feels different for everybody because all of us was feeling different. God knew exactly what to do to us to get that superpower out of us. Second question.
Morgan said, what if I miss my calling?
What if I miss my calling? You will not miss your calling. You just won't respond to your calling. You have the calling. You have the feeling. No one that I've ever met that has finally accepted their calling said they didn't feel it. You will not miss your calling. You can just choose not to respond to the calling that you received. Some people say you just didn't answer. It's so interesting. You still have it in you. You still have the superpower to go and save. You just choose not to do it. Like in Hancock, you saw the lady that he met later who had a child and had a husband, and she chose not to show her power. When you say you missed your calling, you didn't miss your calling. You just choose not to. And it's still lying dormant, waiting on you to get into it. So you know you will never miss a calling. What you will not do is respond to the calling. You hear your name. You hear me calling you. And it's crazy. It won't stop calling you until you answer or die. I hope that helped her. All right, you guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Are you going to see your loved one again, Ambrose, while young?
Physically, no. Spiritually, yes.
No, you say see me spiritually. What do you mean?
In spirit, we'll no longer be in a physical body.
Okay.
To where our eyes clearly see faces.
So would I recognize your spirit?
Yes, I will. Because the spirit is given by God through this same spirit that you come from.
Okay. All right. I'm listening to my good friend here. Minister Ransom, will you see your loved ones again in heaven?
I believe so. I really believe so. Because first of all, we're going to be transferred. We're going to have an uncorruptible body.
So you're saying there will be a body?
Yeah.
Now, flesh and blood will not inherit. That's what you were speaking of. The flesh and blood will not inherit. But the Bible does speak about a body.
Yes.
It's called a spiritual body. I heard you say something about a spirit. A spiritual body. There will be a body, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
It's interesting. I'm going to go there for a minute. So you're saying if you saw your mom in heaven, you'll know who your mom is.
I believe so. Yes.
You believe that? Do you believe that? Yeah. That's interesting. We say that there will not be a physical body there. But then the Bible says this, and all of us believe 100% in the Bible. We don't ever argue what's real. That there's a tree that's good for the healing. If my body is not there, why would it need to be healed? Why does that tree exist if something doesn't need to be healed? Now, was it just a metaphor? Was it just a parable? What do you mean that there's a tree and it's good for the? And it says something about you can pull something off the rub it on, whatever. You heard that. See, a lot of times with death, the reason why people get confused is because we can't always explain it. What scares us about death is that we don't always know what we believe, and we hear so many different opinions of what happens when you die, to the point we be so afraid because we don't know what's going to. I heard the preacher at the funeral, Mr. Beckwith, he said, I'm going to see my mama again if I act right. He said, if I live right, if I give my heart to God, and they made us all walk up to the casket, and we said the ABCs, and we accepted, and we believed, and all that stuff, and we confessed, and all that. They told me if I didn't do that, I wasn't going to see my daddy again. And I did it. Am I going to see him or not? And here comes this other preacher. You ain't going to recognize him. You ain't going to know him. You're all right. What film I go to? What preacher I get? Trying to explain. I need y'all to get the same manual. I need y'all to get on one hard. Please, we should on it. Which one is right? And to see them again was important to me. That's important. Do I want to see Jesus? Yeah. But y'all, listen, I've never seen Jesus. I've never seen his physical body. It's like he said this white man in church with his blue robe on.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep saying, is that what Jesus look like? Yeah, I took a plane. I went to Israel. I went to Israel. I saw where he was born, but he wasn't there. I was looking for him. He wasn't there. Didn't show up. I knocked on the door, came on in, saw myself in. There was a star at the bottom. They said he's born right here, this spot right here. Well, yeah, what Jesus look like? I read the Bible. It started describing it. One black person said, that's a black person they describe. White person say, no, you see all these Israeli people? This is what he look like. Which one is? What does he look like? So when I say I want to see Jesus, y'all, it's not the idea I want to see him like I want to see mom. Now, I don't want to see Jesus like I see Michael, like I see Dad. I want to see Jesus because I got some questions for him. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? I listen, me and Jesus got to talk. Yeah. We got to talk. We got to talk. You know how they messed me up until you don't understand it better. Jesus, we talk now. I can't wait till we get face to face. Yeah. Go right ahead, baby.
I understand we will not float around like ghostly beings.
Okay.
Jesus was the first and the model of resurrection.
Okay.
When disciples saw him, they recognized him, although his gagged, resurrected body. Matter of fact, he still had wounds in his hand, and they invited Thomas to touch.
And I'm glad you said that, because this is the argument. All right. And it's okay for us to argue, but not fuss. Let me say that. The argument is they saw Jesus on earth. They didn't see Jesus in heaven. Right. Now keep that in mind. It's that God knew that they were looking with a natural eye. So he had to appear in the natural. Is that going to be the same way that Jesus looked in heaven? We don't know. We do know on earth that they did see him and they did recognize him. And he even gave Thomas an opportunity to put his hand. So they like he couldn't touch, some part of the body says, be careful now, I haven't ascended yet. So don't touch me. Right. But he gave Thomas an opportunity to say, listen, you can see this for yourself. You want to put your hand inside these holes, you can. So God allowed us when he was on earth to do some earthly things. Yes. Are those earthly things are going to be allowed in heaven? The Bible doesn't speak directly about someone in heaven looking at anybody. Correct. That's why the argument can always be there, not the fussing. Right. That's why the argument is there. Y'all, that's why there's a thing called, this is what we base our Christianity on, faith. Absolutely. Yes. Y'all, all of Christianity is based on faith. What do you believe? What do you believe? Whatever you believe, you need to stay right there with the understanding that God has blessed you. What do you believe? I ask these preachers what they believe. I can't tell them one of them is right. I can't tell one of them they was wrong. We can explain the Bible many different ways. It's what is your faith? What do you believe? Where is your faith? Then we talk about faith, the substance of things that's hoped for and the evidence of things that's not seen. Where's your faith? See, I'm hoping that I get to see my mom again. I got faith that that's going to happen. I got faith that Johnson Sr. is there. I got faith. Yeah. I can't see it, but I'm hoping that it's going to happen. And that's where I base my Christianity on is on faith. I got faith that Jesus was real, that he wasn't just a prophet. Now, I know Jesus exists. I've been to where Jesus was. There was a Jesus, y'all. There's no question. There was a man named Jesus. I went to his house. I went to his mama's house in Turkey. I went to Mary's house. Yeah. I'm telling you, there was a Jesus. Y'all, nobody argues if there was a Jesus or not. Not a Muslim, not a Jew, not a Christian. Y'all, there was a Jesus. Nobody argues that. Y'all, this is where faith come in. Was he the Son of God? Was he born to a virgin? That's it. Is he really y'all? That's where the argument. Not always fussing, but y'all, that's where he got me. Yes. It's not the idea he exists. Yeah, ain't nobody disagree that Jesus exists. But My faith is that he is the Son of God and he's able to die for my sins. That's why I'm okay with the enemy death.
Mhm.
That's why I can live with knowing death is coming. Because my faith tells me that Jesus got this thing. That all my sins that's going to make me die, death will be my penalty for sin. And I'm going to die. But because he died first, I have been forgiven for those sins. That's where I want to lay my hands.
Yes, sir. But you know, also, I've learned too that the scripture tells us that Jesus conquered them.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And if he conquered the ultimate enemy, if my Savior went before me and conquered it, then therefore there's some way, somehow, I'll be able to conquer that same enemy.
Done. That whooping has already been taking place. I don't have to fight it.
He said he took the sting out.
He took the sting out of it. Man, didn't he? Oh, yeah. Where is that sting? That's where he is. Not victory. Come on, Doc, let's end this thing, y'all. Listen, as you listen to us today, thank you so much for joining us, being a part of the show. We appreciate you. Every week, I like to challenge my staff. We've been blessed with these men and women of God who's come to minister to families, to comfort families. And I believe that it's very important as we do the hiring process that we bring people together with like-minded, that we understand that this is bigger than us. We understand at Golden Gate Funeral Home that we need to have ministers, either called ministers or still running from God ministers, but someone that knows it is your job to comfort families in whatever power God gave you to do that in. One of the things that we like to do at Golden Gate Funeral Home, not only educate you about death, ministry, or whatever the case may be, but to encourage each one of you to say this: death has to be prepared for. We talked about it has to be understood. We talked about you have to pray for it. But at Golden Gate Funeral Home, we believe you have to also prepare for it. Not only prepare for the spiritual side of it, as we spoke about, we know we have to prepare for where our spirit is going to go, but something is going to happen to your body. So you may say, well, why is that my responsibility? Because I am now deceased. I'm going on to God or wherever I went on to. Why do I have to worry about the body? Let the dead bury the dead. And you're absolutely right. But the dead is your children. The person you're saying, just throw me in the backyard, is your wife. The person you're saying, I don't care what you do with my body, is the one who loves you. And y'all, they're not going to throw that body in the backyard. They're not going to just let it rot somewhere. They love that body. That's the body that touched it. That's the body that shared it. That's the body that they know. That's the body they kissed. They love that body. Help them with what to do with that body. 7 things we ask you to do. First of all, prepare for where you want us to place that body. We can cremate that body. We can bury that body. We can entomb that body. We can have a funeral for that body. We can have a memorial service for that body. We can have a celebration for that body. We can get somebody come and preach over that body. We can get somebody come sing over that body. We can have somebody shout over that body. But tell us what to do with the body. You see all those choices? 25 choices. 25 choices you would have to make with a funeral director. 25 choices in about an hour and a half. Every 2 to 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm expect for you to be able to answer as a grieving family. So we're asking you to make sure you answer those questions so your family don't have. So the first thing I'm going to do is plan for my funeral. 2 things you can do. You come see me at Golden Gate Funeral Home. We'll sit down, we'll plan your entire funeral. I'll punch it up, put it in the computer, it stays there, and it's just there. When you pass away, whatever the charges are at that time, your family can pay for it with your insurance or whatever money you saved up to do. Or you can come in, pick out everything you want. I type it up for you, and you can pay for it. You can pay for it cash. You can pay it over a 5-year, 3-year, 10-year period, whatever. You can pay for it for your family. It's up to you. Now, if you choose to pay for it today, you pay today's price. If your family chooses to pay for it tomorrow or whenever, they pay that price that day. Just remember, those are two choices you have when it comes to making the arrangements. Number two, if you want me to pay for anything after you die, you're going to have to leave me some money. You want me to pay out that house that we got together? They'll leave me some money, that car, the bills, kids going to college, whatever the case may be. If you want me to pay for those things, you got to leave me some money. We believe the best way to leave money is to have an insurance policy on your life. It's hard to say. It's hard, y'all. Most of us make enough money to pay our bills. And we might can save a little for emergency situations, but we haven't saved enough to pay off the house. We haven't saved enough to pay off the car, or pay off all the things, or pay for a funeral. Insurance, that's what that is for. Number three, this is very important. Whatever you leave behind, tell us what to do. That's called a last will and testament. Everybody you owe, write it down and tell us what to do. Everything you own, write it down. Tell us what to do. That's all we ask. Remember, your bills don't die with you. House notes don't die with you. Car notes don't die with you. Tuition for school don't die with you. We're going to have to do something with your bills. I just asking you, what do you want me to do with it? Everything you own, I need to know what to do with it. You own a car, tell me what to do. You own a house, tell me what to do with it. You have children you take care of, tell me what to do with it. You got parents as elders you take care of, just tell me what to do with it. That's all we're asking. And by the way, while you're doing this, put something in place if you become disabled. You can die physically without being dead. You can stop speaking with one stroke. You can stop moving with one heart attack. You can be in a car accident. Anything can happen to you that you will become disabled and cannot speak for yourself. Just tell us what to do if that happens to you. Now, I got three things in 3 minutes. Number one, if you have a bank account, for every bank account, we need a beneficiary. Every bank account needs a beneficiary. No charge. Go to your bank. I just saw one of my beneficiary. Yeah, they can't check your account. They can't do anything while you're dead alive. They have to walk in there with a death certificate, prove that you're dead, and then they get the money out. If you don't have a beneficiary, your family will have to pay a probate attorney in order to get your money out the bank. Put a beneficiary on there. Number 6, you guys, very important. Who's going to be in charge of your funeral? You have kids, they're all equal next to kin. You have a spouse, you have a mama, you have a daddy. Now, everybody loves you. Everybody have an opinion. Put one person in charge. Just one. 2 heads is a freak. I'm not saying that person has to use it, but they need it. Just in case something go down. And when you decide who's in charge, need something in your hand, call a right of disposition. Even if that's your wife, give her a right of disposition. You have to give someone the power to be in charge. Remember, right of disposition does not have to be a relative. They don't have to be any kin to you at all. And they don't have to use the right of disposition unless necessary. If an argument happens, if someone can't agree on your wishes, that's when they pop out the trump card. Give it to somebody you trust, just in case that happens. No fussing, no fighting, no arguments at a funeral. That's how you cut that out. Put one person in charge. Make sure that person has the money. Because the person with the gold make the rules. All right. Last thing, you guys. I don't know where your stuff is. I don't know where your wheel is. I don't know where your money is. I don't know where your bank account is. Yeah, you got to write somebody a letter. Either through electronically, through an email. Write somebody you trust a letter. Give me the password to the phone. Give me the combination to the safe. Tell me where the bank is. Give me the routing number and the bank account number. I need to know where everything is, and I need to be able to open it up. So if it means I open it up with a key, I need a key. Or at least I need to know where to find it. If it means I open it up with a code, I need the code. If it means I open it up with a combination, we need the combination. You're going to have to trust somebody with that stuff. When you do those 7 things, what I'm saying to you is that you're now prepared for death. The enemy is coming. It's called death. But we can prepare for it for our spiritual side, great minister today, as well as for our physical side. That's the most important part of an Ask the Undertaker show. Brother Ransom, thank you so much for being a part of the show, man. We appreciate you. Father Ambrose Young, thank you so much for being a part of the show. You want to say something in 30 seconds?
I just appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right.
God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Beckwith.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being a part of the show. We're going to be right here every Saturday morning with Ask the Undertaker, and Monday through Friday with the Morning Drive with the Undertaker. You're going to love that show. A different spin. May God bless you. May God keep you is our prayer.